Galen, how do you feel about end bosses in video games, like super bosses? Not just the end boss, the post boss.
That is a good question.
Is it?
Well, as you know, I don't actually play video games and I'm a fake gamer, so I've got a very small list to go off of here.
Very tiny. It's very short.
The first one that I'm thinking of, though, is the Dark Genie from Dark Cloud 1 as a secret boss in Dark Cloud 2.
Oh!
Also, it took me freaking forever to beat Sephiroth in Kingdom Hearts 2. Like, I did not know what I was doing, and I still don't. I still think it was luck.
All right. That's pretty fair.
Yeah. You know, it's actually funny. Kingdom Hearts is the first time that I was exposed to that, and I was like, when do these characters have wings?
Well, that was a made-up stupid thing that they did starting with Advent Children. The only, like, one-winged nonsense that happened in the original game that I can think of is the very ending, his very, like, last transformation nonsense stuff. But he was a cosmic creature by that time anyway.
Yeah. So the moral of the story is Kingdom Hearts is still weird.
Hello, my high-ranking assassins friends. Thank you for joining us today on Nintendo Everything Podcast, episode 104. I am Oni Dino, and with me, it is a wrestler that didn't quite make it into No More Heroes. His wrestling techniques were just not very good, but he's coming straight from Calgary himself. It's the Bean Man, Galen.
Yeah, bean it up, brother.
What?
I don't know. That was the only wrestling thing that could, like, come to mind.
You gotta run with the bean, Galen. Go with the bean.
Go with a bean.
Go ahead. I'll give you a chance
on.
to redeem yourself. This is really embarrassing, so I'll cut it out. Go ahead.
Did you say
Take number
beam?
2.
Beam or bean?
Okay, Galen, that was also really embarrassing. Take number 3. Here you go. Go!
Yo, how's it going? I got nothing on this. There's not a lot to work with on this one.
I don't know. Maybe you should blame your tools, okay?
Oh, okay. Well, let me rely on the highest quality
Friends,
tool
we
that I
are
have.
a weekly show. Episodes go live every Sunday, except for when they don't, like last week.
Yep.
Thank you very much for letting us take a week off. It was kind of crazy for both of us, so it was just a good time to take off that week. I hate taking off weeks, I really do, so don't worry, we won't be making a habit of it, but thank you very much for your support. Please, we are on, like, all the podcast platforms, blah, blah, blah. Leave us a rating, a review, share us with people, help us to grow. Galen, what's coming up in this episode? We talked about No More Heroes already, so we're going to talk about more of the heroes. More of No More.
Yep. More of No More Heroes.
That's exactly what I just said, but you're repeating it. Go ahead.
I think you've been playing a little bit of Trials of Mana, so I'm excited to hear about that.
Right, and also the news is stacked this week.
Oh, yeah, a whole...
So stacked that we can't even talk about it right now.
I know, yeah. So, but we can talk about Part-Time UFO, which I'm very, very excited to talk about.
And lots of lovely listener questions, food for thought, so let's get into the discussion. Let's go on to our adventure log. Galen, where does the magic happen on the internet?
Several places, several dark places, but one safe place you can always go to is our
Come on,
podcast
just
on
say it.
iTunes.
Faster!
Podcast iTunes reviews.
What? No! I'm talking about your Twitter. We're in the adventure log, man.
Oh, yeah. Well, you can, come over to my Twitter, too. That's at Mobius087.
Oh my god. And I just have to apparently lead the horse to water, but can't make it drink. The horse is lame. Shoot it on my Twitter at Oni_Dino. We also have a lovely Discord. You can go into the browser of choice, type in tiny.cc/Nintendo Everything Pod, and you will go straight to the podcast Discord. It's a lovely little place. People making friends there, talking about deals.
Is it backslash or forward slash?
Forward slash! That's it! Thank you so much! People in the Discord been harping on me so hard because I don't know, it's just habit. I keep saying backslash. It is forward slash. Tiny.cc forward slash Nintendo Everything Pod. Now, Galen, I got lots to talk about with No More Heroes, but how about you just set us off on a space adventure kind of note? You know, start off real good with some crane game mechanics. Tell us all about Animal Crossing's Halloween recap.
I would love to tell you about that later, but first I'm going to talk about part-time UFO chicken.
Okay, well, I said Animal Crossing, so do as you're told.
No. Actually, I will humor you on this one. So, wanted to give a little bit of a recap on the Halloween event that we just went through. We had made some predictions because we didn't quite know what exactly was going to be happening there.
We made predictions?
We were trying to figure out what was going to happen. Because
all right, go on.
they alluded to a lot of different things. So the Halloween event was pretty fun. There has been a lot of build-up leading up to this event, decorating your town, making sure that you collect enough candy. I've talked about this before in the past, but we didn't
episode.
Yep, but we didn't quite know what we were going to be doing with it. So first off, I super over-prepared, just like in real life on Halloween candy. I have so much left over, I do not know what to do with it.
You should just display it in front of your house and then get some small children to come to your house.
Just a trail of candy that just leads to a cage.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so apparently what you did in the event is that you went around and gave candy to your villagers. Or more importantly, they came up and harassed you for candy. Now, if you gave them candy, they would give you a Halloween-themed item. This could have been a recipe for something that you haven't been able to get up till that point, or it could have been the item itself. The items were a little lackluster. I mean, they were like paper-shaped plates and tableware, a spooky garland.
Paper-shaped?
Or pumpkin-shaped. Sorry.
Okay.
Pumpkin-shaped paper plates.
Well, Gil, I'll tell you what, you're doing a hell of a job today. Go on.
Thank you. The items themselves were a little lackluster, but it was a lot of fun being able to run around and see the costumes that everybody was actually dressed up in. The thing that made this entire event for me, though, was Jack, the special visitor, because he was fantastic.
Oh, I love a good Jack. Jack Bros from Atlas Games.
Yeah, no, that's good.
He ho.
So yeah, he wonderful personality, very bombastic in his Halloween-y ways.
Galen, that's inappropriate.
What I also found out is that you can get his costume. So he wears like this deep purple robe and a gigantic like pumpkin head that you can actually wear as a mask. And then what I found really interesting was when you talk to your villagers, they actually were afraid of him and they thought he was you to begin with. So it became this whole new game once you unlock this costume of going around and talking to everybody and just, freaking them out. And actually extorting candy from them when you do that. So
Jesus Christ, there's a twinge of like, there's some things happening in your Animal Crossing town behind the scenes. I don't mean just you, I mean like just this game in general. Like, what was up with that freaking bunny that wears a suit and he's like, stay away from my zipper? You know what I mean?
Just super depressed. He's like super depressed. He does not want to be there, but he is.
But he isn't a bunny. He's got a zipper and he's like, stay away from it. And then this as well, it's peculiar,
It's a little weird. There's some deep lore going on here. But no, just overall, it was a fantastic event to be able to go through. The final reward that you get once you have done everything that the event has to offer is that you get this pumpkin carriage that it looks awesome, and the thing is freaking huge. It is definitely a centerpiece, but I really wish that you had access to it earlier, prepping and decorating your island beforehand, because literally once Halloween ended, I went around and sold all of the Halloween stuff that I've been making, and
Why?
Because the game is so limited on storage, and I have been maxed on my storage space for literal months now. So
I've heard that this is an issue.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I still have tons of pumpkins, so come this time next year, I'll be able to rebuild everything and redecorate everything. But
Right.
I mean,
as a good gourd would.
yeah.
A gourd hoarder, some may say.
A gourder. So
That's a goiter. That's the thing that grows out of people's neck when they have either too much or too little iodine. I can't remember which.
Is that what Jack actually is? Is he just have a giant goiter that's just encompasses an entire head?
Yeah, Jack is actually an ant with a human-sized goiter.
That makes sense. I can believe that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
But no, just overall, I had a lot of fun with it. It led up to my expectations. However, I am kind of worried that it's now set a precedent of future events that are highly publicized. Is that the word I'm looking for? I'm not sure.
I literally have no idea what you're talking about, so...
Well, okay, so one of the big things was, hey, decorate for Halloween. It's going to be spooky and awesome. Well, one of the next big holidays coming up is Christmas time. That's another time that there's a lot of household decorations and festive spirits that kind of go along with it. I'm wondering if they are going to be doing similar events that will kind of build up the hype leading to that moment of. Or if this is just going to be I don't know, just like not going to live up to that.
We'll talk about that more in the news.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Galen, it's great until... Oh, no.
No, it wasn't great.
Segue word. I have been playing No More Heroes on
That
the
sounds fantastic. You should tell us about Trials of Mana.
Nintendo Switch. No More Heroes.
Oh, you don't want to talk about Trials of Mana first? You know, throwing off your order is a little awkward for you, huh?
No, it's not that it's awkward. It's just that I do what I want because I host the show. I steer the ship, and you, Galen,
right into a cliff,
are right on the poop deck where you belong.
That's where you can get the most shit done.
You know what? That was not bad, Galen. That was good. Good job.
Thank you.
So, okay, what is No More Heroes? It is on the Nintendo Switch. It is a hack and slash game with sort of like a punk or anarchic spirit to it. Mm-hmm. You play as Travis Touchdown, who was modeled directly after Johnny Knoxville from Jackass. A very timely thing to talk about in the year of our gourd 2020.
Nice.
Travis is like and big old frickin' air quotes here, cool otaku, and he has a beam katana, not a lightsaber TM Star Wars TM.
No.
And he accidentally gets himself involved in the United Assassins Association. Mm-hmm. The story is that he meets a French girl at a bar, and she basically manipulates him into killing a dude who happens to be the 11th ranked assassin in the world. And then Travis wants to be number one. And then she's like, oh, I'll have sex with you if you get to be number one. And it just, like, you start out with vapid reasons, but as you keep going through it, you get more about the assassins, you get more about the association.
Yeah.
And there's more things happening there than you thought.
Now, this is a remake of a rather old game.
It is not a remake, and you keep saying that wrong.
Wait. Okay.
Galen,
Continue.
let me just tell you this, because this is episode 100 and whatever. A remake is when something is remade, like from the ground up or whatever.
Okay, a port, then.
Yes, this is an HD port of this game. It is the Wii version, the original Wii version.
Okay.
Which is great, because there was a PS3 version that happened back in the day. They really changed the aesthetic, and I don't like the way that one looks. It just kind of, like, they tried to make it look nicer, and it does look nicer, like, on a paper, on paper, but it loses its aesthetic, and its aesthetic in the Wii version is, like, very heavy shadows, almost like a cell shading look to it. Everything in the game, tone-wise and atmosphere-wise, is weird and not realistic, so then kind of getting this realistic sheen put on it for the PS3 version just kind of muddled the appeal of it, so I'm very happy it's the Wii version.
Yeah.
And let's see, you got the beam katana, you do the hacking and the slashing. This was definitely one of those games, when did this come out, like 2007 maybe?
Yep.
Where they were showing off motion controls. You know, they were showing off how to do them. So your finishing moves on enemies, you have to swing the beam katana or your Wiimote the correct way. And you do wrestling moves on your enemies, because Travis is a huge fan of wrestling. You do that by moving your Wiimote and your nunchuck in the correct direction. So that functionality is on the Switch version as well. You can do motion controls, or you can do just regular buttons. Also, reminding myself about this, basically whatever the writer, director, he wasn't the producer, I don't know, he was basically everything on it. The creator behind this, Suda51, Suda Goichi, he put whatever he likes into this game. Travis is sort of like a mirror of him, in a way. Galen, what do you remember about this game?
Not a lot. I mean, this is like a 12-year-old game, and
at least, yeah.
Yeah. I remember the worlds being, it was a very open world, but there wasn't a lot in there. And a lot of it was you riding your Akira-inspired bike from place to place, and just like, this looks so cool. I can't do anything else other than go to mow lawns, but that's awesome. And now let's go ahead and go into the actual rest of the game.
So the game flow is definitely that. You are in this place called Santa Destroy. You live in a shitty, like, motel. And by the way, sorry, there's like very much wind happening outside. I can't control that. I am not Storm, as much as I wanted to be when I was a child. Anyway, the game flow is that basically you are killing 10 assassins, and in order to get the approval of the United Assassins Association to kill them, you have to pay and I don't know if I've ever heard this word spoken out loud, so I might pronounce it incorrectly. Stipend? A stipend?
A stipend.
Stipend? Is it really?
Might be stipend.
I shouldn't take advice from you.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, Galen, you know.
Yes.
Come on. You pay a down payment.
You're
so
stipend.
in order to stip that, you have to do some assassination missions on like grunts, or do some part-time jobs, which end up being like little mini games like mowing lawns, finding something buried in the ground, finding mines buried in the ground on the beach that is laden with landmines, finding cats and bringing them back, like little side jobs like that lead to more assassination missions. By halfway through the game, it gets kind of repetitive because the game flow doesn't change. It's really the atmosphere of the game, the really weird interactions, dialogue, the anarchic vibe that the game has that really sticks with you. So I completely understand if some people are like, this is not my thing, like this is repetitive or whatever. Totally understand that, because the areas leading up to the boss encounters are just that, just hack and slash, and it can feel really repetitive.
Yeah.
But it's not about that, which is weird to say about a video game. You know what I mean?
No, that makes a lot of sense. It's like talking about Deadly Premonition and being like, hey, this isn't a good game, but it is an enjoyable game, and here are the reasons why. Like, you need to go into with with the assumption that you're not going to get quote unquote AAA polish or anything like that.
No, this is like high tier indie, if that's,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, this is an indie ass game that just happened to get good publishing and funding behind it.
Mm-hmm.
This is created by a creative auteur kind of thing. You're getting weird, unique shit in this game. That's why I really love Suda's games, is because even though, like, on a gameplay level, like mechanically, they might be just average or just kind of spike a little bit into like really fun and then, you know, go back to average or whatever for his games. Just the whole experience, the video game as a whole is so unique. I've never played a video game that feels like Travis Strikes again, No More Heroes, except for other Suda games. And I just think that that's so special. So people who really love video games could get something out of this.
No, absolutely.
If people are like, you know, the gameplay is tedious, or, you know, it's not that exciting, I completely agree with you. I encourage you to stick with it though, and and experience those characters and those interactions, because each one of those assassins that you meet is a unique character, totally unique model, story, interaction with them, and you just want to know more by the time that you're done killing them.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful.
So one thing that I have to ask is, you know, we mentioned before that this is a 12-year-old game. How is it playing it now?
So the Switch version is great. It is running at 60 frames a second, nearly at all times. It's really nice and crisp. There's a couple of like weird things where I think maybe the aspect ratio was increased a little bit more. Like the Wii version, I think, was in widescreen mode, but just because of the aspect ratio on the Wii, like it wasn't. I don't know. There will be some times where you'll be right next to a building and it'll be in the very corner of your screen, and then the low resolution texture pops onto it. Because you know how like in video games, like for anybody who doesn't know, things that don't need to have a high-res texture, something that's like not actually on your screen, it's behind your character, or maybe it's in the far distance, they have a low-res version.
Yeah.
And then they have a high-res version for when you get there, and then that, you know, pops on when hopefully the player isn't noticing it. Hopefully it's actually not even on the screen when that happens. So there's like a couple of little imperfections like that, but it is totally fine for this game because the game itself is so odd. Like, you go to kill number 4, the assassin, and he's a magician. He's performing to an audience in an amphitheater, except that there is no audience. Nobody is in the seats at all. Like, you get to the boss fight, and then Sylvia, the French girl, is like, "Oh, I got us tickets to this thing," and like, Travis is not like, "This is weird. What? Why are we going to a theater right now?" It's almost like you missed like 5 minutes or something of the story, some sort of explanation of why this setting is happening right now. And there's just all little things like that are very, very weird. But wrapped into that is like all of these excellent camera angles or weird experimental, I don't know, directing choices. That's happening and you just don't see in video games. Like, the trade-off, so say something like Spider-Man PS4 is like very safe, very carefully calculated AAA experience, you know what I mean? It feels great to play. You're playing the same combat that you've been playing for 15 years since Arkham Asylum, you know, and you're just having a AAA ass polished time. The what suffers of that is there's like not a whole lot of creativity happening. There's
you know what to expect.
Yeah, and you know that serves its purpose for sure. This is the inverse of that, where like all this crazy weird shit is happening, like, and you go along with the ride. So like Assassin number 9, who is, you know, the second one you kill, he's after the tutorial mission, is great because you get to a ballpark, like a baseball, and this Assassin number 9 is singing whatever song, on the mound, like he's performing the national anthem kind of thing.
Isn't
Nobody's
he
in the theater.
Yeah, isn't he dressed up like a Texan? I wanna
Yes,
say?
he's like a cowboy
Okay.
kind of guy.
Yeah.
Everybody is their own unique character, and he's singing, and then he's starting to tell you this story about how his family hates him, and he like sort of what he did in his profession is like worked up to be this really top ranked assassin. He did it for his family kind of thing, like to provide for them or whatever.
Yeah.
And now his family hates him. And then Travis is reacting to this not like an audience surrogate. Like there is no audience surrogate in this game. He's just like playing along with it as if he knows the guy or whatever. And the whole time, like the camera is profile of your assassin number 9, and then when Travis goes to speak, it goes like and then like zooms into Travis's face, and then Travis says something, and then and it goes back out to assassin number 9. Just a whole bunch of like weird shit that's happening, and then the next assassin you go to fight, when the camera is on him, it's like shaking and rumbling all around, and then it goes to Travis, and then it's normal, steady cam, and then it goes back to, and it's like, what the f- is happening? And the reason for that is like it's symbolizing that there's something else going on behind this other assassin kind of thing. Just a whole bunch of weird things that are, it's not super deep or anything, but it's creative. It's trying shit out. And that's why, like, as an experience, I'm so into this game. I'm sorry, I've gushed about it a little bit too long.
No, it's fine. It's always incredibly exciting to hear about a game that uses directorial choices on how you are seeing something as simple as a cutscene to really convey feelings that you wouldn't normally get in the average gameplay. So yeah. No, it's great.
So all in all, just a great port. Really fantastic to have this the original Wii version now in HD and playing at 60 frames a second. It's great. Mm-hmm. I will say, for people who are thinking about it, here's some hot strats, some Onidino tips for you. Onidino says that once you
Can we have a segment that's just Onidino says?
Let's not. We don't want to tank the show. When you get the attachment for your beam sword from the beam seller, that you can find like little areas to dig and stuff on your mini-map, little things on your mini-map appear in the main town hub. It'll also show where the lava cove balls are. So those are like a ball that you would play with at physical activity for school, the bouncy balls. Once you collect all of them, you can take it to a guy at a bar, and that'll open up as the story progresses. I think it opens up after you kill assassin number 9 or 8. And once you have all of those, you can trade those in to get skills or something like that for battle, or skills where you can run faster than around on the side missions and whatnot. That's all super helpful. Get that done as soon as possible. Pay attention to your mini-map when you are in the town. The mini-map in town is really weird because it's all pixelized. Like, even the menus and stuff are just, they're doing some cool shit and some weird shit. Like, when you kill an assassin, it suddenly goes to this, like, Atari Space Invaders style ranking thing, and then it's like you're playing an arcade cab in the 80s, and your name goes up above the other guy, and then like the lights that are in the background start flashing at you like you're going into warp speed or something in like a Star Wars nonsense thing. Like, there's just so many little references, or so many little, I don't know, just like inspirations. Not even references like, hey, get the reference. It's more like little inspirations that he throws in there that you wouldn't know unless you were super into it. And it adds to the story. It doesn't feel like a whole bunch of like bullshit or wankery.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny.
What's
funny that it's funny that you say that, because when you were explaining that, especially with the Atari stuff, I wanted to make a comment of it kind of sounds similar to the way that Scott Pilgrim, the movie, would kind of convey some of its stuff. But I always felt that a little tiresome, because it was like, oh, here's a, Zelda reference just by using the fonts and stuff. It seemed out of place, but tonally it fit within the movie. This seems to, the way you're describing it, seems to fit much better. It makes more sense.
I hated the Scott Pilgrim movie. I really didn't like it at all for things like that it was just like reference. Also, I don't like Michael Cera. Just one of those actors.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was a weird choice because whatever. I don't like that movie. I don't like references for the sake of references. Like, oh, hey, look, it's like the Star Wars stuff now where it's like, oh, I clapped because I saw the thing and that kind of stuff. Like, no. What No More Heroes does really adds to the vibe of the game because the game is punk. It's anarchic. So it works.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, obviously, there's a sequel.
There is. I'm going to try and talk about that next week.
That's fair. But one question I want to ask you now, do you think it's worth... Because I'm assuming you've played the second one before, correct?
Yeah, back in the day.
Yeah. Do you think it is important for people to play this first one before they play the second one? If they are of the mindset that I want to play the latest version that has come out.
Well, probably not. I'd have to play the second one first to see how that starts off and everything. It's not like it's a super crazy story heavy kind of game where like you won't really understand or whatever. It's more just about the experience of the game and the vibe, the story that the game will tell through just wackiness. Okay. And so probably no, it's not necessary. But I do remember that the second one, while improving some things, it did some things that other people didn't really care for. So it's not just like it's a wholesale upgrade. So the first one is still worth its merit to play.
Okay, cool.
So that's No More Heroes on the Switch. Galen, tell me about Trials of Mana.
Trials of Mana is a game that Oni's played before.
And Galen knows nothing about. But absolutely I will tell you about Part-Time UFO.
Yeah, I'm absolutely in love with this game. I am very glad that I picked it up. So.
I knew you would be.
Yeah. So, Part-Time UFO Chicken is a game created by HAL Labs, so the creators of the Kirby franchise. It's a smaller game, and it's wonderfully reflected in the price. It's a cheap game. It's only like $8-9 or something like that. The game is all about moving, stacking, and balancing. I mean, the levels are separated into various locales that allow you to move things from place to place within the setting that makes sense. So that sounds redundant, but let me just say. So, for example, there's a level in a toy store where you just have to pick up toys and put them away. But you actually have to lift off the lid of the toy box, put all the toys in, and then close the lid on the toy box. But you have to make sure that it fits properly in there. So the puzzle of that level is how do you get everything to fit in just the right way that you are able to close it the way that it needs to be. There's another one where your first tutorial level is fruit and produce falls off of the back of a farming truck. And you have to pick everything up, load it back onto the truck, but also the fruit itself has a durability to it. So you have to be careful. If you drop it too many times or if it falls from too high of a height, the fruit's going to break or it's not going to be good anymore.
Nobody wants to buy a bruised apple.
Exactly. But yeah, it's just the game is all about revisiting those levels, stacking everything up, balancing with these awkward shapes that are actually there. It's a lot of fun. So the game itself is very floaty in its physics based, I should say.
Does it feel good though? Like I feel like games like this will live and die on their physics.
Yeah, no, it definitely, the physics that's in it does make sense. There is a lot of like micro control tapping of just like you need to move it over just a couple of pixels just to get it in just the right spot because the weight of an item and the gravity will affect the balance, and whether or not you're going to, put things on this table on top of a triangle is, it's gonna matter on that. One of the levels is actually takes place in a circus, and you have to load up various animals onto an elephant balancing on a ball, and you have to do a combination of, okay, the donkey's really heavy, you have to put him on that side, and then you have to load the turtle and the mini turtle on top of each other on the other end. And it's just the way that they mix these puzzles together is so much fun.
That sounds great, and also very familiar because I feel like this podcast is a circus, and there's always a donkey, or as I like to call it, a jackass, on this show with me as well.
Yeah, they're hosting most of the time.
Right.
So, in the background to all of this is just some fantastic music. Like, the music is absolutely amazing.
Galen gave me some ahead of the show, and I'm going to play it right here, if I remember, in post.
No, the music is great. It's very simple. Like, there's a simple, 8-note melody, which is underlying and repeated throughout most of it. So, but the charm is the various versions that they have on there. So they have versions that are level dependent or theme dependent, depending on what you're actually doing.
Is it like the same song, but it gets like a different arrangement based on the level?
Like the country level or the farming level that you're on, there's like a country kind of twangy sound to all of it. There's one where you have to pluck fish out of the ocean and put it onto a fishing boat, and that one is a lot more calming and serene and very oceanic to it. One of the later levels is a sci-fi level that's based in a lab in space, and it's very electro techno inspired and a little bit more high intensity because it's one of the final levels in the game.
Ah, like the moon level of DuckTales.
Actually, they have a moon level here, and that is an amazing song. I really hope you play that as one of them.
So how does this game progress then? Is it just like stage to stage to stage?
Yeah, sort of. So you're basically a UFO and you're looking for part-time jobs. Like, that's the gimmick. So you have this little book that you're selecting your jobs out of, like a phone book that you're going through. Each page has 3 jobs that are available for you to choose.
Galen, for any of our listeners that have no idea what a phone book is, please describe it.
It's a book that got randomly delivered to your house that you would, throw in a cabinet and never use, because who uses a phone book?
That's correct. Go
on. But yeah, so each of the levels that you play, there are achievements within the level itself that you can go ahead and unlock. And they don't outright tell you what it is. They will give you a picture that will give you a hint towards it, but there's no exclusive hey, put the statue of the little man on top of the museum display. It doesn't tell you that. You just have to kind of guess.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so there definitely is a replay value, and each of these achievements that you get within the time limit, they also add to your score, which then translates into money that you can spend on costumes and other things like that.
This is sounding really good. Galen, do you think I need to play this?
Yes. Oh, God, absolutely. There is this Zen level of turn off your brain and go that I think is something you would absolutely love, especially because you love to just lay down in bed and just play games until you fall asleep and the switch falls onto your face. So
I am very zen. That is one of the adjectives I would use to describe me, yes.
Sure. Now, you would absolutely love this game, especially because the overall charm in this game is absolutely phenomenal, and HAL Labs definitely uses that to their advantage with their own IPs, like the toy store. You can actually revisit levels and you get harder versions. They change things up, add more things on there. On the harder version of the first toy store that you go to, all of the little block toys and everything like that are replaced with Kirby plush dolls.
Yeah, I think I saw a screenshot of that and I was like, ooh, yep. I love Kirby.
you have to load up all of your toys onto this display stand, but those Waddle Dees are very awkwardly shaped.
Waddle Dee, more like Wobble Dee, am I right?
You know what? You are allowed to make that joke after an entire mountain of them has tumbled because the warp star, just moved and shifted the gravity the wrong way, and you lost like an entire run's worth of work. Then you can make that joke.
That was a laughing yawn.
I see. That's a new one.
Well, I like to kill two birds, one stone.
Efficient, I'll say.
So speaking of killing, you think this game is good?
Yes, absolutely.
Great.
For the price that it's there, it is a great pick up and buy. It's a great way to spend a weekend or an afternoon. I highly recommend it.
Brill. Proper brill.
Mm-hmm. What is brill?
Brilliant.
Oh, brilliant? Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, well, it's kind of ironic, isn't it, Galen?
Don't you think?
It's like Trials of Mana, which I've been playing recently. It's a great game
day.
when you're already dead. I finished Trials of Mana. I beat it. I finished it. It's all dead. Killed everything.
Congratulations.
Yes.
You have beaten a video game. You have moved beyond fake gamer.
Why am I yawning so much? I'm sorry. Oh, I know why. It's because I'm cold. I yawn all the time when I'm cold. Sorry. Yep, beat that game. Afterwards, there is a really meaty post game though, which I didn't know about that, and that's great. It was really great.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing something about this. Isn't it like added content that they put in there?
Totally brand new, yeah.
Okay, cool.
So there is a whole new dungeon. Like as soon as you beat, well, all right. Before I go into the post game, let me just say that like overall impressions and stuff like that. The story and everything was disappointing for sure. I remember, and the setup for all the story is great, but it's like 80% of the story takes place in the very beginning. And I remember restarting the game lots of times on the Super Nintendo version, several times because there's 6 different characters and there's 3 primary narratives that you can go through. And I just remember having such a great time and being like, oh, I can't wait to see where this goes and blah, blah, blah. And even though I have beat it on the Super Nintendo, it is very forgettable. And that's why I didn't remember what the game was like at the end. The end boss comes out of nowhere and you're just like, okay, you're a generic bad guy and okay, I have to beat you. Otherwise you're going to destroy the mana tree, blah, blah, blah. And it sucked, honestly. Just nothing pushed me forward narratively in this game, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It felt like there was going to be a lot of, stuff, a lot of world building, but there just wasn't, unfortunately. But the post game though, as I said, very meaty. There's a whole 4th level class. So like this game is very focused on which classes you go with. You have a light path and a dark path. I've explained this before. Then you can go light, or light, dark, or dark, light, dark, dark. And then there's another class from there that you get only in the post game. And there's actually 2 versions of it, which is great. Like this is a whole bunch of content in what is supposed to be after the game is done. And there's even a little bit of character building that happens there too. Like I had Duran, and Duran's father dies before the game, and then you like meet him and stuff, and it's just like, why wasn't this in the game kind of thing, Like I could have really used a little bit more of like development.
Yeah. Now, it's interesting because I've actually heard from a couple of different people that the endgame content seems a little contradictory to some of the plot points. Something about like a skeleton boss that was in there or a revenant that was in there just seemed it became like a standard enemy in the endgame. I'm not quite sure if I'm referencing this the right way.
I don't think you are, because bosses didn't turn into regular enemies in the end game.
I might be misquoting that.
Yes.
So
you basically go through reworked versions of places you've been before, kind of a standard thing for, post-game stuff.
Yeah.
And the reason that is so fun, though, is because the aesthetic of the game and the simple yet well executed battle system is just so good. I think that if you like action RPGs, like maybe say something like Ys 8,
Okay.
You'll get something from this. It's really fun. I played as Angela for pretty much the entire time. She's got lots of magic spells, so that added an extra level of dynamics to the gameplay that maybe some other characters don't have. And the aesthetic, I think if you look at some screenshots, you'll know right away if this is your thing or not. For whatever reason, I just got such a soft spot in my heart for the Mana series. I think maybe just because of playing games like Legend of Mana a whole ton. That was like one of the only PlayStation games that I had, so like I replayed it a lot. That's also got a lot of replay value to it as well.
Yeah.
Just the aesthetic is just magical, absolutely magical. It's like nature and fantastical stuff mixed together. So yeah, I loved playing it, even though I know that this isn't like a stellar game. But anyway, the main end boss is really cool because it's a main boss of two different Mana games that came after this game first released on the Super
Really?
Nintendo. So then they bring her back just for like kind of like a little cameo thing. I remember reading about her in Legends of Mana. I very much remember this character's name. It's Annis the Witch, in case anybody cares. And it's just
Spoilers.
whatever, shut up. Just got a soft spot in my heart. I'm really glad that they remade this game. Just I hope that the Mana series takes off a little bit. I like my mid-tier, my not super crazy expensive JRPGs. Good job, Square Enix.
Nice.
A little harder though next time. Maybe a little more writing, a little more character development next time, please.
Yeah. Would you see, or would you want to see another Mana game?
Yeah, definitely. Love the look of it. Love the character designs, man. There's so many like good little character designs in the Mana series. Like, so it deals with like the spirits, right? Like Will-o'-wisp, gnome, dryad or dyrad, I forgot. Shade, salamander, undine, that kind of stuff. I like, for example, God, I wish I could remember if it was dryad or dyrad. Is the little wood spirit. You know, she's representative of wood. She is so cute in this game. She is she looks basically like a girl in like a cocktail dress that and has like big hair, but her hair is actually leaves, and her cocktail dress, the design and the shape of it is just like bark. It's wood, and she bounces back and forth kind of like a cute little girl, and she's got her hands on her cheeks, and she just looks so little precious, and it's just like a nice little
That's
design.
adorable.
Nice little cute design. And I just had a great time with it. I mean, there's this guy, so like, you know how in a lot of JRPGs you'll get on like a whale, or you'll get on a boat and you'll go around the sea. Instead of that, in this one you have this little like turtle kappa guy, and he's big and gigantic, and he wears goggles, which is cute. I love like redundant things on like a character. Like, he doesn't need goggles, he's like a turtle thing, right? But he still wears little goggles, his little swimming goggles. And I think he's got even like a snorkeler. I think he's even got that. And then you would expect, because he's a sea creature, to be a little bit graceful or, you know, efficient or something. But when he moves around, he's like a big old like fat guy swimming. He's just like and his arms and legs are going everywhere. And it's just cute. Just, you know, little bits of character, little designs in there. And I just loved looking at everything.
I love it.
Yeah.
That is precious.
So check out some screens of the game. If you're into action RPGs, give it a thought. You know, there's lots of sales happening on the Switch and gonna be happening with the end of the year. So keep an eye out for this game and maybe give it a thought. Trials of Mana.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now on to the big fat stacked news that we got this week.
Mm-hmm. So much news. So news.
Galen, did you know that the Switch sell good?
Switch sell good.
Switch
Nice.
number big, very large.
Mm.
This past October, in particular, in the United States, it sold over 735,000. That's 750,000 in just that month of October, which means that was the second best October in the United States ever for a video game console. The number one was back in 2008 with the Wii. So just the Switch is continuing to be not only like a success, but also the premier video game console right now.
Absolutely.
It makes sense because, Xbox, oh my god, I almost said 360. Whatever the Xbox is. The Xbox and the PlayStation 4 were in the last 4 years of their life when the Switch came out. That makes sense, right? But like this next 4 years is going to be the difficult part of the Switch's life. We'll get to that in some of our listener questions later. But basically the last 23 consecutive months, the Nintendo Switch has been the best-selling video game console in the United States.
Yeah.
And its total... last bit of information before Galen decides to say something. Keeping my soul in. Over 22.5 million Switch sales in the United States alone.
Yeah.
Go on, Galen. What?
Well, it's just... I feel like
very cool. Is it very cool?
It's very cool.
Very cool.
No, this is something that we've touched on a couple of times, and I feel like we bring this up every time these numbers kind of come out, which praises the Switch so greatly.
Yeah.
Nintendo has really been knocking it out of the park with their marketing plan and their marketing idea of what role does the Switch hold in the average consumer's life.
Yeah, it's nice to see them as well focusing on one console too.
Exactly. So, I mean, being able to say, hey, here's this portable device that you can also play at home. This checks 2 boxes, and also you can give it to your kids. You can relive the nostalgic memories of playing Pokemon like when you were a kid. You can see all of this really cool stuff, like look at Legend of Zelda Hyrule Warriors, which is going to be coming out. Like,
can't wait.
Yeah, no, it's checking a lot of boxes, and it might not be the most powerful thing that's out there, but Nintendo's kind of proven the old adage of you don't need to be. So, and also the fact that they have been staggering their releases so much. So, I mean, Nintendo has had a good 2-3 years since the Switch has come out of just being the new hotness in a lot of ways.
Oh my god, Galen, you sound so old right now.
Well, I am. So, listen to my experience, youngins. This definitely says something that they have had such a great head start, and they've been doing this ever since the beginning.
Yeah, it's not like it's had like very much of a lull in momentum or anything like that. Like at the 4th year, selling this much still is great. They've had insane momentum. On that note, it has outsold the original NES, the original Famicom as well.
Yeah.
That was at around 62 million units in total, and the Switch, as of the end of September, was at over 68 million units. Yeah. But with just the 750,000 sold in the United States alone, it's probably over 70 million by now in November, and then it's going to be big sales numbers with the end of year and Christmas sales and stuff like that. It's always huge for software and hardware. So just doing really great. It's crazy that it sold the original NES. I mean, of course, different time back then. People were playing less video games, but the original NES is also what saved the video game industry back then.
No, that's absolutely true. And
that was the hardware that gave parents the faith in the video game system and video game market again since before that with the video game crash.
Absolutely. And being able to make this sort of a progress and be able to make claims like that even in the middle of the pandemic that we're still going through right now, I mean, that's still impressive. So.
Yeah. Another interesting thing that I noticed too is that the Switch, while in hardware numbers it hasn't outsold the 3DS yet, the Switch's software numbers has already outsold the 3DS. in just, what, 4 years? Less than 4 years? It's crazy. So what that really is important to point out, like the reason I say that is because it shows that people who own Switches buy and play games. You know, they didn't just buy it for Breath of the Wild and then put it down and then, you know, maybe they'll buy, I don't know, whatever the big thing is and then put it down. Like, what does happen with a lot of casual gamers, and, you know, no offense to casual gamers, like, whatever, like we've talked about this before, where I'm a casual moviegoer. I don't go out and see all the movies, you know, it's just somebody who's less into video games, but they play video games still. You know, they probably have their PlayStation 4 and it's just a FIFA box and they buy the new FIFA and then they play that, or whatever it happens to be, you know, that's fine.
No, I 100% agree with that. Like, to be completely honest, my PlayStation 4 has basically become a media center more than anything over the past couple of months.
Isn't it your Destiny box though? Or no, you've turned that into your PC.
Yes, my PC is my Destiny box now.
Okay, yeah.
But no, it's just I use the PS4 mainly to watch YouTube videos, to watch Netflix, other
play
media
Marvel's
aspects like
Avengers.
Ugh, no, God, take it away. The game is it looks so bad. It looked so bad right from the beginning.
It's not even just that it looks bad, it's just that it looks underwhelming. It just kind of looks mediocre and blah, blah, blah.
It looked so underwhelming, and then they came out with all the negatives of, oh, by the way, this is not free to play, but there's still microtransactions galore. And, oh, by the way, you have to pay for all of your costumes. And, oh, by the way, you're going to need to be grinding forever. And I'm just like, you didn't have me to begin with, and you're already barring the door.
It's AAA poisoning its own market because of greed, you know?
Yeah.
We'll talk about that another day, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's true. So, hey, if you want to hear us ramble on about that, listener mail.
yeah, right into us, blah, blah, blah. We'll talk about it. Whatever you want us to talk about, we talk about it. And, besides that in the news, Galen, just give us a little bit of whatever, Animal Crossing.
This was actually a little light on info from what I saw.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah. So they're of course coming out with more animals and bugs and fish to be able to catch, but really this month there's only 2 new ones that you haven't been able to catch so far. You've got blowfish, which can be caught at night, which is still weird. I haven't stayed up late enough to actually catch one of these things. And a damselfly, which is a dragonfly thing.
Oh.
They did also make a note of saying tarantulas are back, so scorpions are no longer there anymore. And that was it as far as animals.
Beautiful. I think there's supposed to be a huge update coming up soon, though. It's at the end of the year or something.
Well, end of the year, we should be getting like the snow-themed things coming on, and there are going to be a lot more mechanics coming in that relate to that.
Okay.
But
you're going to have to do snow removal, aren't you?
Yeah, maybe. What they did showcase on this one, though, was they focused a lot on mushrooms. So there's 5 different types of mushrooms. You got round, flat, skinny, tall, and rare, which you actually dig out of the ground like truffles. You get about 5 mushrooms a day, and they all show up around your trees and at various places like that. And they're just used for seasonal crafting things like they've been doing all year.
Lovely.
They've also been talking about maple leaves that are flying through the air. Now, they've done this before with cherry blossoms back in the spring. So you catch these leaves, and there are certain recipes that kind of link themselves directly into that. Now, previously, they did talk about acorns and pine cones, which you can shake from trees. So for fall, you've got a completely different, I think I did the math, and it was like 45 different recipes altogether that you could not get when the game first started.
Okay.
And you can only get for this season. So
I'm curious. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I'm sorry.
There's a lot of reason to play the game right now.
Yeah.
But I was a little disappointed that they didn't address any of the upcoming Thanksgiving event or Harvest Festival event.
Yeah.
Especially because they did introduce the hints of farming. Like, this is something that has been what is it I want to say?
Toyed with?
Not toyed with. Spoiled through various
leaked.
like data mine leaks in the past. And I thought that was something that we were going to be getting when we saw pumpkin farming come into fruition. But
fruition, you mean?
But I guess all that stuff is just going to be, coming soon on the horizon. So that was a better pun. Why did you not laugh at that one?
Because Galen, I could tell that you thought about that earlier, and you were like, "Oh, I'm gonna say this." I can always tell with you, Galen, when you've done a little preparation ahead of time and when you haven't with your jokes. Yeah.
No, but I am a little disappointed they didn't address the upcoming events, because
maybe they will next week.
I mean, maybe. So,
hey, speaking of which, have you gotten any of the physical rewards on the My Nintendo website?
Yes, I'm really glad that you brought this up, because I kind of wanted to mention it. My Nintendo rewards are coming back for physical stuff.
Yeah,
I didn't know this.
I mean, that has been happening over the last couple of weeks. I don't know if we've even talked about it on the show, but go on.
Yeah. No, it was actually really funny. I got an email from Nintendo on just like, here's some Animal Crossing stuff. And I looked through and there was this bandana, and I didn't know it was a physical reward at first. Like, I'm sitting here thinking, it's like, oh, cool. Okay, this is something you can download to your character. You have to use the Nintendo silver coins or whatever. All right, it's no actual money. That's fine. So I put my coins in and I ordered it. And then it took me to enter in your address for shipping. Hey, by the way, this is just $5 in shipping. Hope that's okay. I'm like, what the hell did I just order here? And I looked through, and it was an actual, bandana that I gave to my wife, and she absolutely loved it.
Aww.
And then I looked through, and they've got like tote bags, they've got like shopping bags there. And I was like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
And they're all sold out. Crap.
Yeah, but they thankfully do say temporarily sold out. There's a ring. So in Japan, we use like rings on the back of our smartphones as opposed to like the little pop-out things. Pop-out things are really popular in the West for whatever reason, and I hate them. Galen's trying to show me something, but his background is too aggressive and I can't actually see it.
Yeah, it's true. I got one on the back of mine. It's built into my case, so.
Is it a ring?
Yeah, it's an actual ring.
Okay.
It's not the pop-out guy.
I find those so much more useful because you can put your finger in the ring and then you can hold on to your phone, and it's very nice.
Yeah.
So there's one that is the shape of the Monado, the Xenoblade.
And I tried to get that one, and that one was sold out too.
It is. It's sold out like immediately, and I was
Yeah.
so bummed about that. But hopefully it'll come back in the future. So everybody build up your silver points and go and get some physical rewards. They charge like a flat rate of $5 for shipping if you're shipping domestically in the United States, which I think is fair.
Mm-hmm. No,
Like
absolutely.
Some people are really upset about that because Club Nintendo, they didn't charge shipping. And yeah, I would like to not pay shipping, of course, but if they're going to charge me anything, $5 flat rate, that's not bad.
Exactly.
That's not bad.
Yeah, and to be completely honest, like, we have gone this long without having any sort of rewards whatsoever here in the States. So
Right.
I'm okay paying $5 for these neat little rewards if, it means that we get them back.
Right, yeah.
So, neat.
Speaking of not in education or employment, what was the T's for? I don't remember. Additional DLC. It means not in education or employment or training. That's what the T is. So basically a freeloader kind of thing. But it's like a social phenomenon enough that they made an acronym for it. Just like whatever Galen's going to recommend.
Yeah, I've actually got 2 this week.
Go, fast, hurry.
So the first thing I think you'll really enjoy, it is just a
so
stupid
sure.
little video called Resident Evil 3 Be Like ... It is an animator who got a hold of the sprites from the Resident Evil 3 remake and has just gone to town making some jokes at the expense of the game itself. One of my favorite ones is the Nemesis jumps around, he sees Jill coming down and pulls out the rocket launcher, shoots, blows her up, knocks her to the side. She just gets up, uses a first aid can, spray, starts walking. The Nemesis kind of looks at the rocket launcher, just shoots her again. She does the same thing, and yeah, no, it's a great little video. It has a bunch of jokes like that. So. Is that a cough?
It's whatever you want it to be.
Second one that I have is, do you remember a couple of weeks ago when we had Haz and Diem come onto the show for No Straight Roads for the interview?
Yeah, months ago now.
Yeah. I recommended a show called, oh shoot, it was on the tip of my tongue.
Great.
Crap. Anyway, I recommended a show on that for my additional DLC. That same animator has actually created a separate series within that same universe called Helluva Boss.
Okay.
It is all about a assassination industry in hell whose entire niche is they will go back into the living world and assassinate the people who wronged you. And just dysfunction galore. It is beautifully animated. The writing is very... very fun, very adult, and they've actually got some good acting chops behind them. Like one of the guys I think is the one of the voices from Invader Zim.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so no, they've got the actual pilot episode as well as episode 1 up on YouTube. So definitely check those out, but fair warning, it is definitely more on the adult side of content as far as the jokes go. So
is it just like edginess and for the sake of we can do this right now?
Think of a cross between Archer and Ren and Stimpy.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's lovely, and I am recommending video from José on YouTube. I've recommended his stuff before. This video is called No Gillette Did Not Lose $8 billion because of a woke ad. And it's just a kind of fairly brief video compared to his other, long form stuff. It's 15 minutes and it just kind of takes you in from the back door of how misinformation gets spread. I don't want to spoil anything or whatever. I mean, it's not spoiling, but you know what I mean. It's great because a lot of people, there was an ad before where Gillette, as part of their marketing, tried to do an ad about toxic masculinity or something like that to show show everybody, hey, we're down with the whatever virtue, and so you can buy our razors, and then you're supporting, I don't know, progressivism or whatever, which is stupid. And then a bunch of right wingers and crazy people were like, whatever they say, SJWs, and get woke, go broke. That's what they were saying. Get woke, go broke. And then they thought that, and not even thought, they just repeated information that they lost $8 billion because of this ad. That's not the case, as Jose puts it through. Anyway, it goes even deeper into that, but it brings you back to the very initiation point from the back end, and it's just great. It's just a really well done video, and it's a good lesson to be learned, not only just idiots parroting information, but just how easily that we all can fall victim to parroting misinformation. So
no, absolutely,
it's smart. It's a video that'll make you a little smarter and a little more careful.
I watched about the first 5 minutes of it. I need to go back and finish the rest of it.
Yeah. You're 1/3 of the way through, Galen. You can do it.
Yeah.
And now on to our listener mail. Galen, if people had words that they wanted to shout at you, where would they email them to?
You can send those emails to us at nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
That's right, nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com. However, we also got the Discord, which is you can go to your browser tiny.cc / Nintendo Everything Pod, and we have a channel on there called Questions, and you just put your question in there. If that's easier for you, just do that.
Yeah. And we also have our iTunes reviews.
Do that.
Yeah.
So our first question this week comes via the email. It comes from a human being, most likely, named Shrodio.
Shrodio. Shrodio?
Galen, read the email. Hurry. Fast.
Shrodio writes in, "Hello. Just wanted to write in to say how much I've enjoyed the podcast. It's one of the few things that have made the COVID cut. It is a great distraction from the depressing times we are experiencing. I am sorry, because we are embarrassing weirdos."
Yeah.
My question is, if all electrically powered devices were destroyed, except for your Switch, and you had unlimited power to charge it, how would you hold up with your current collection? All owned games, not prohibitive of memory card size. Between the puzzle games, indie games like Celeste that I could perfect, RPGs, Final Fantasy VII that I have never completed because I don't have time to devote, kids, and the fact that I could play Fire Emblem Three Houses forever, I think I would be happy. Happy reference for video games for years? I think I would be happy with video games for years.
Yeah, I don't know, a typo maybe.
Because this year has been tough enough, we will pretend it happens right after New Hyrule Warriors comes out.
Oh,
Thanks.
thank you, Shrodio. That's perfect.
Shrodio!
He also has, or they also have a PS.
P.S. Thanks for helping me discover Pixel Quest.
Nice. Thank you so much for writing in, Shrodio.
Thanks a lot.
It's always good to hear from the new people, and that you're not a new person, but I haven't heard your username before. But also, making the COVID cut. That's really, really cool.
Yeah, thank you.
We don't really bring up, the COVID stuff just because I think that, at least for me, I am depressed enough in normal life that, like, I do this show weekly and lose my mind with Galen, and boy, I don't know if it ever turns out good, but apparently lots of people do enjoy it, so it's wonderful to hear feedback, because a lot of times I'll get in my own head and I'll be like, oh my god, like what is this awful show that I do? But a lovely question, Galen. I would love if this ever happened, honestly, because I just have too many games to play.
Why?
I would love it because I know the games. I'm just here. Let me grab it. The Switch is right here. Oh my god. My back
You're also
hurts.
having to live in a world where you have to like ride horses to get anywhere.
I don't have to go anywhere. I have a Switch.
You have no food to feed yourself.
Galen, you eat your tears, do you not? I mean, just looking at this thing. All right, let's look at it. I gotta scroll all the way down because I got a bunch of bullshit on here. I have a bad habit of
I have seen your Switch. You have so many games. You have an obscene amount of games on your Switch.
Galen, that was also like 2 years ago that you saw that, so like it's gotten worse.
I believe that. I 100% believe that.
I like to buy lots of little indie games to support developers, especially if there's a good sale or something like that, and something I want to buy, I want to play. Like, I got 9 parchments, all right? Like, I can't read you all my games. We would be here doing nothing for hours. But, I mean, 9 parchments, right? I've been wanting to play that game. Like, I played a little bit of it, and it was a lot of fun. It's like a little bit like Diablo. Earthlock on the Switch. I kickstarted that game years ago, and it finally came out on the Switch. And then like that Battle Chasers Night War, I interviewed the creator of these, and I'm like not even played it yet. Fallen Legion, that looks great. The next Fallen Legion's coming out, and that's got our lovely gentleman Mr. José as a voice in there, so I gotta play this one before that one. Valkyria Chronicles 4, what? Why haven't I played that? That's right up my alley. So many games. Hollow Knight, which so much. Caligula Effect Overdose. I have all these games that are going to take me 70, 80, 90 bajillion hours, and I ain't got the time for it. Just somebody erase electricity.
Well, nice to know that you're officially set up there.
I would not only would I survive, I would thrive if Schrodio's situation ever happened, because then there's also the games that like I've played but are also really fun and I would want to go back and replay or re-experience, like The Messenger, Mario and Rabbids. I'd replay that. Daemon X Machina, I still haven't played that. Been hyped for that stupid game and I never played it. I got the whole Sega Genesis Classics
never even
collection.
opened it.
I did open it. I opened it so I could get the 60 gold points or whatever the hell it was. 60 cents. And like Shrodio says, Fire Emblem Three Houses. There's 4 routes in that. Like 3.5, whatever. I have not even finished the first route.
You have not even finished that. You know that game's on sale right now?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of really good sales happening. So everybody keep an eye out. I picked up Link's Awakening.
Nice.
Why did I buy another game? I have games. Why? But I bought that for $30.
Because you don't actually play games, you just collect them.
Well, I do play
them.
them.
Dare I say...
I do play them, and I do have a lot of them, and Galen, don't even try and throw that stone from that house. You're going to break a window.
Yeah. It is really cool that you can keep all of these games on a portable console, though. I mean, that is so nice.
Yeah, I mean, I wish that micro SDs didn't cost so much. Otherwise, I'd have a bigger one.
What size do you have?
Caitlin, that's an inappropriate question to ask a person on a podcast. But it's pretty big. I don't remember. That's the real answer. I haven't measured it in a long time.
Ah, gotcha.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Galen, what about you? How would you not live?
I am not in as good a position as you are.
Right.
So
right.
there's a lot of games that I have on my Switch right now that are beneficial to me, like Wizards of Legend, that is a roguelike. So there is that potentially infinite replay value that's there.
Those kinds of games depress me, man. Because I'll have a bad run and then I'll be like, what am I doing? Why are video games a big waste of my time? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. I feel like I've been playing Animal Crossing for an eternity, so I've got that set up for me there.
Right.
I still have a bunch of games that I need to check off those final completionist things, like if I've got all the time in the world, let's go ahead and go through Breath of the Wild and find all the Korok seeds.
Yeah.
Because I'm a madman. I would love to go through and 100% complete Mario Odyssey, because that game is a lot of fun for me.
I am struggling to bring myself back to it just to beat like the main things in it. I need to beat it. It feels weird to not be compelled to play a Mario game.
Yeah, I felt very attached to that game when it first came out, so I had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
Beyond that, like there's some other smaller indie titles that I have on there, some smaller games altogether, but a lot of it, I like to diversify the games that I do play through the various systems. So I've got, I've been playing a lot of my PC lately just because I really want to go through Baldur's Gate 3 and just do a couple runs of that.
Uh-huh.
The new Destiny just came out, and that's what I'm currently invested in at the moment.
But you only have your Switch according to the God Schrodio's situation.
Yes, and that's why I am not in as good of a position as you are when it comes to this one.
Well, I'll say the eulogy at your funeral.
Thank you. So you can light it with your Switch so everybody can see.
What?
Because there's no power.
Do you know what a eulogy is, Galen?
Gesundheit.
Jesus. Also, love to always hear from listeners who are, full-time adults and they got kids and shit. Even though neither of us do. It's cool to have like a listener base of, many ages and stuff, but like it definitely skews older. It's great. Love it.
Absolutely. Well, thanks a lot for writing in, Shrodio.
Thank you, and especially a fellow Picross psychopath like myself.
There you go.
Come on over to our Discord, Shrodio.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Discord, we are taking a listener question from our lovely boy Coffee Cakes.
Mr. Coffee Cakes here writes in, here's a question. What y'all think Nintendo's actual next move is following the release of the so-called next-gen big boxes, like the PS5 or whatever the Microsoft one is called? Will they continue to push the Switch, or make a more powerful one, or try something totally new? Hope you all doing well. Thanks for the lovely show. Thanks a lot, Coffee Cakes.
Thank you for the lovely question, Coffee Cakes.
Yeah. So
this is a big conversation, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, we've alluded to this conversation a couple times in the past.
We have, yeah. It can turn into endless speculation, which I like to avoid on the show. However,
Yeah.
when we get a question about it, we'll talk about it for sure. So,
Mhm.
I definitely do not think that Nintendo will make like a next gen thing very soon.
Yeah.
The only reason that I say that, it's not even like whether I definitely think this or not, because Nintendo oftentimes does something that's completely like, it seems like they're taking zero market research and then they do something and then it happens to 50-50 fail or do well for them. But just coming off of the heels of the Wii U being a very undesirable product and then having a huge success with the Switch, they don't want to very quickly release yet another system and then lose that consumer trust in them, because then the people who are not, like the hardcores like us who will buy the next system, whatever, people will be like, oh, well, I just bought the Switch. Like, why would I want to buy this next one? Because they're just going to get rid of that one in 4 years, and then like I'll buy whatever after that in 4 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They want to know that what they're buying is something that they can be invested in, which is a little bit ironic in our current like situation, like as humans with like technology, because phones are so disposable and so expensive.
Yeah.
The new whatever Pixel or something, I don't even remember what it is that came out. Maybe it's the new Galaxy. It like I saw a commercial that was like starting at $999 or something like that. And I was like, the what? Like,
No, the e-waste is absolutely horrendous right
it's
now.
nuts. So like for somebody to have an understandable apprehension to buy a new product after 4 years because they spent $300 on it and they want that $300 to last, I completely agree with them. But then I'm also like, what about phones, man? Like phones are like upwards of $1,000 and you get a new one every 2 years, 3 years. Like, I mean, who knows? That's just nuts to me. I can't imagine spending that much money on something that doesn't last me so long.
Well, and that's what I absolutely hate about the way that the other video game companies are kind of going for when it comes to like, hey, look at Microsoft. There's the Series S and the Series X and the downtown, or the payment plan that you can now get set up with. And just like, no, I don't want any of that. Like, I want to get a console. I want people to know what they can do with that console, and let's spend the next 5 years or so really exploring everything that we can do, because that's where the innovation is going to be coming from.
Yeah.
If you are a developer and you have this ever-changing thing of how far can I push this, what's the bare minimum that I can make this game at so I can appeal to the widest demographic, then it just makes things so much more complicated, and it changes the entire mindset and kills innovation in a lot of ways.
And I mean, we can even see like where the Wii struggled, even though it was a huge success, it struggled with third-party success. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It received third-party support, but not as much as it should have for the numbers that it was doing,
And looking at Nintendo's past history, like, they have always focused, and I feel like they've learned this lesson very early on, that innovation is the way to go more than anything, but there's a very fine line that you have to ride between innovation and also keeping up with the technology of the time, while at the same time making everything feasibly purchasable.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like the Switch is not particularly innovative. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's novel and it's unique, but it's not innovating on too much. The ease. I think the biggest thing for me with the Switch is the ease of it being on my TV or in my hands immediately.
Yeah. And that's the kind of innovation that I think they're really trying to strive for, more so than how can we change the gaming dynamic as a whole.
Right, right. If you can just make a console, it doesn't need to have detachable controllers. I'd like it to be nicer controllers than these. Like, I've sent my Joy-Con in twice to get fixed. Thankfully, they're doing that for free. But if they do just a solid-ass handheld that goes into a TV and yada, 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 I'd be fine with the Switch 2. That's a little bit beyond Coffee Cake's question. But sort of getting back to it, let's dial it back here. With the release of PS5 and the Xbox, what does Nintendo do, in your opinion, Galen, like to compete with them if the Switch is going to stay there?
I have said it before, and I'm going to say it again. I don't really think Nintendo is competing with Microsoft and Nintendo right now. I think
Microsoft and Sony.
Yes, Microsoft and Sony. I'm sorry. I think they are really doing their own thing, and they're just living in an ecosystem that those other options exist in.
I disagree.
With that said, I honestly think that they are going to continue to push the Switch, because the Switch is meeting a need in the market that is not really being contested a whole lot right now.
Yeah.
And they are going to ride that for as long as they can, because that is where their strength is at.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I thought you were done. Going
forward, looking at their history of innovation and how they have really tried to change the mindset of what gaming is, I really think they're going to focus on some sort of internet-focused option. Like, I have nothing to back this up. However,
I think I know where you're going with this. Please do go there again.
Yeah.
However, I just want to say that I think that this is just what you want and not what you see Nintendo doing.
I think Nintendo will come out with a new version of the Switch called the Nintendo Home. And I'm just going to give it that name. The entire premise of this system is that it is a home server that is basically set up, but you interact with that server through a wireless means, similar to how the Wii U joypad works, similar to how the Switch is. You have the option of being able to take this along with you. However, you can also access your own personal home server for all of your games and everything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is too forward-thinking and too risky for Nintendo to do, for me to realistically see them doing that. I think, because that would be basically an add-on to the console. And we have seen that add-ons don't do well in the video game market. So,
and
looking
I'm saying that with the infrastructure that they would have to put down in order for this to be a feasible thing that works and is not just this gigantic why is this thing not working, yeah, they would have to come up with a brand new console. Like, this is basically what the quote-unquote Switch 2 would be. This would be whatever that Pro thing is.
That's why those kinds of add-on things, if they're big and ambitious, they're better saved for a brand new generation of console that you push. Because if you're doing an add-on, or like the equivalent of an add-on, it's only ever going to sell at most, and this is not even realistic, to whatever the existing install base is. Yeah. So look at Sega with the Genesis and the Master System, and 32X, the Sega CD add-on, that also made the consumers lose faith in Sega's hardware. That's part of the reason why the Sega Saturn didn't do particularly well, because that came out like right around the same time as 32X or whatever. And then shortly after that, in console years, they came out with the Dreamcast. And you don't want to do that over and over again, and Nintendo just is coming off of the heels still in terms of like consumers' mindsets off of the failure of the Wii U. So you want to do stuff that, you want to keep supporting the Switch. So I think that they're just going to maybe pivot the appeal of the console, but they're going to have to be really reactionary if they're going to do that, because if you're like, okay, look at this is, the console that you play, just the way you have been for the last 4 years, and now it's pretty much just going to be an indie machine and a Nintendo machine, because you're going to lose third-party support. Even if companies can pare their games down to the Switch and have it release on the PS5 and the Xbox, you're really only going to get that for the next year, maybe, because they're still going to do PS4 versions and other Xbox versions, just because they need it to sell, and the PS5 and the Xbox are going to have too small of an install base. When it's just going to be PS5, Xbox, and Switch, it's going to be such a compromised experience on the Switch. We're not just talking graphically or whatever like we see right now. It's going to be such a compromised experience that consumers will not be buying that, and the 1-2 punch of consumers not going for the Switch version of a multi-plat game, plus the amount of effort and money and time that it will cost a studio to port their game over to Switch, and then that not turning into monetary gain for them, is not going to make sense. So we're going to see third-party support definitely drop off. I really don't know what Nintendo is going to do. I think that they releasing the console in the middle of a generation gives them a really excellent first half of the console's life and a really shitty second half of the console's life. Mm-hmm. They had to do it out of necessity with the Wii U, but I'm really curious what they can do to make it work. Because if they made a really powerful Switch, that's just going to be the Switch 2. It's going to be a brand new hardware.
Yeah.
And you also have to think about price, like you brought up before. Part of the appeal of the Switch is how cheap it is.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's part of the reason why, Nintendo's got to do something pretty dramatic in order to stay competitive. But
if they do something dramatic, though, they're going to shoot themselves in the foot and lose customer trust.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of different ways that they can move with this. So, and we haven't seen any of it yet.
Yeah. Just personally speaking, not thinking about what is good for the market or blah, blah, blah. I would like to see a more powerful version of the Switch, a Switch Pro, as people have been talking about, because I talked about this with Hyrule Warriors. It would be great to see that game playing at a little bit nicer looking way, whether that's resolution and frame rate or whatever. Just, it would be nice to see things that I love on the Switch just looking a little bit nicer.
Yeah. Well, and Nintendo, especially ever since the Wii, has really been kind of writing the line on what is pushing the hardware to its limits.
Just the Switch, you said the Wii.
No. I'm saying since the Wii, they've been really kind of pushing their hardware to the limits just to stay up to par on what things look like graphically and what is expected of whatever generation it's in at that time. So
Coffee Cakes, thank you very much for that lovely question.
Yeah, thank you so much, Coffee Cakes.
So many interesting things to see what's going to happen in the future. I'm deathly curious, whatever I'm trying to say.
deadly curious.
Deadly hungry is what I am.
We should get you some food.
I'm tired.
What's coming up? What's coming out? On the NintendoEverything.com website, 24-hour news, reviews, previews, translations, lots of excellent stuff in the pipeline. Follow us on Twitter at NinEverything. Stay tuned to our YouTube, youtube.com NinEverything. And the Twitter, my Twitter is at Oni_Dino. Galen?
And my Twitter is at Mobius087.
So, Galen, we next week is going to be the Calamity of Galen.
That really does come out pretty soon, huh?
I think it's the 20th.
Nice. Are you excited for it?
Oh, so excited. What's the first thing that you're going to do when your calamity is upon you?
Cry. I don't know. I've got to play the demo a little bit more. I'm still I'm a little on the fence if this is my kind of game. Like, I don't know.
It can be your destiny, Galen.
That's what scares me. I don't have a lot of time left to lose.
But you have a lot of self-respect left to lose.
That's true. That is very, very true. Well, we'll just have to find out if I finally, grow up to be a big boy gamer.
So tune in for Onidino and Baby Child over here next week. We'll see you next week. Until then, for everything Nintendo,
Stay tuned to Nintendo Everything.
bye.
Later.